I've been belting and piping together so many raw materials. I need a break. So today, let's have some fun making a fully closed, no water extractor aluminium setup. What's up everyone, my name's Ollie and welcome to Barely Building. Last time we placed 280 refineries down here in the pit and got our iron up and running. Been doing some work on it. We've got steel and caterium done and some of our copper, and it's complex keeping all of this neat. My brain needs a bit of a break. So instead, let's make a stupidly complex aluminium system. Quick flyby the community hub and much love to my OGs up here. Wall 2.0 is officially full, so we need to start wall 2.1. We've already got some names up here, so thanks so much for supporting the videos. If you want to get up here, just drop a sub and comment I subbed. YouTube doesn't always tell me, and permanently make your mark on this save. So let's take a quick look at the actual plan for this. I'll put this diagram together just to try and explain it a little bit easier. We have one refinery making sloppy alumina at a very particular overclock, in this case 233.66%. That gives us a required water input of 467.32. Now in one of our pairs of refineries we'll overclock to 222.5333%, which gives us a water output of 233.66. And in our second one we'll overclock to 111.2667%. which also gives us a water output of 233.66. This water then merges back together, feeds back into the alumina solution, which gives us exactly the amount of water input we need as the byproduct. And the reason this works is that Somersloops not only double the output of the useful item, they also double the output of the byproduct. So by doing this, we can create an aluminium line with no water extractor whatsoever. And in theory, it will just loop forever and never ever go wrong, probably. And while we're in here, this room is actually perfect for this bit of the build. We need to make 1800 sheets and 1500 casings. The aluminium sheets will go in to make heat sinks, and the aluminium casings will go in to make radio control units. And there was a reason I didn't use the alternate recipe for the heat sinks, but I completely can't remember what it is. So we're committed at this point, so let's just get on with it. And let's make a start just by touching this room up a little bit, just to make it look nice before we start putting machines in and making a mess of this place. We've just framed out the windows with some H-beams and some concrete pillars, a few cross beams running up. And these lights were a bit of a pain to make, but very worth it. So this is a cross beam, and to get the light into the right place, there's a small trick you can do to make a new snap point. Place down a concrete pillar, grab a catwalk intersection, and now we can slide this freely and create brand new snap points for our signs to snap to. So it was a case of trial and error, placing this down, snapping on a painted beam, holding control to rotate it, grabbing ourselves a sign and nudging it into place to see if it went to where we wanted it. And it was a lot of trial and error, but we got there eventually, and this is what we ended up with. And this light, I do like it, it looks really cool. For the full plan, we need 5 refineries for our solution at the overclock rates that we're using, and 10 refineries for the aluminium scrap. 1 standard with no sloops, and then 1 set slooped, solely because we can't handle more than this amount of output at the round numbers of the machines. We can come back here when we've got Mark 6 belts and reduce this down to 6 in future, but we'll see if we need to do that. And just to overcomplicate things a little bit, I've ran the water output up, I've joined it all together, merged it and sent it down into the alumina solution. The pipes should self-balance themselves. I'm sure this is going to work fine. I've got the bauxite moving in from the trains up through the floor into the refineries, and I have had to run a temporary drone to drop off some bauxite until we can upgrade to Mark 6 belts. Just to prove the concept works, I've made a very temporary petroleum coke plant over there, which we're droning down to the factory just for now. We're going to tear that down within this same episode, so don't get worrying about that. All we need to do now is take some temporary water, and I've just grabbed some from outside here. This was water that was just running to the copper lines. You can feed that in for a second and just wait for all this stuff to come to life. And after a little bit of faffing, pulling out some of the extra water that we don't need, this is starting to come online. All it takes is going through and just getting rid of some extra bits of byproduct that we don't need. While that's settling down, we've got everything feeding into some awesome sinks. Let's work on our aluminium ingots. We have 10 belts of scrap, so we can balance out the smelters into 50 smelters, which will mean 1 belt can feed 1 blueprint of 5 and it should all balance out nicely. So over at the blueprinter, this is what I've come up with for the 5 smelter design. Just got inputs on the front, outputs on the back. We've put some pillars in between here with some nice lights on them. It's quite a nice design. Each belt's going to feed one of these. Very happy with that. So let's take this over there and buy some of our usual barely building, amazing planning and not luck. Look how nicely these blueprints fit in here. So we need 10 of these blueprints for 50 smelters. So we can just nudge some up here, another section at the top. Let's get this filled in. What we'll do, we'll move these sinks over there. Then we can feed all our belts a bit more neatly around here, up into all of our smelters. And this is really fitting the vibe of the build here. I'm really happy with this. It looks really, really good. And a quick check at the night time. My days, this looks really, really cool. 670-ish per minute is the target. So we'll leave this to run for a little while. Let that stabilize out. Just make sure this is all working as it should be. So now we need to tidy up our petroleum coke line. And while we do that, we're going to process all the oil that's available to us over in that section of the map. We're going to turn all that into plastic and rubber using the recycled recipes, so that way we can pull from it when we need to for the rest of the phase 4 factories. And I want to use the sort of blueprinted modular factory style again. So if we take a look in modular, we can make a blueprint that uses 1 refinery for heavy oil residue, 1 blender for diluted fuel, 1 for recycled plastic, 1 for recycled rubber, and we can feed half of it into each other, which is going to give us 75 plastic and 75 rubber per blueprint. We have about 1800 oil to process, so 32 of these blueprints. That's going to give us enough plastic and rubber for the rest of the build we're going to do. So the real question becomes, can we fit 3 refineries and a blender inside the blueprinter and make this look cool? I don't really want the refineries just in a line. I do want to try and create some shape. So let me cook for a minute. Let me see what I can come up with. And here's what I come up with. I've got a blender at the top. That's going to take heavy oil residue input here, plus some water that we'll get on site. This is getting fed from a refinery here with a crude oil input. The fuel will feed down into these 2 refineries. 1 preloaded with plastic, which will make part of the blueprint. 1 preloaded with rubber, which again will make that part of the blueprint. And then half of our rubber will go to our plastic, and half of our plastic will go to our rubber underneath here. And the overflow will just collect up on the outside, feed that into some mergers, and away we go. So let's package this up and head out onto the site. I knocked together this blueprint, which our other blueprint can sit on top of. So we can chuck one of those down, drop down one of our blueprints on top, do that another 31 times. And look, a pre-made factory, done, dusted. I will see you in the next one. No, I'm kidding. We've grabbed together our crude oil here. We fed that into the refineries at the bottom. We brought our water up in these water extractors, one on each set on each side. Gathered up all of our outputs. This is all running across just into some awesome sinks so we can do a throughput test. We want these numbers to steady out at 600 per minute. I've added in a small petroleum coke line just down the side here. That's what's going to feed our aluminium at the main base. We'll train the bulk of it down to the build over there. The rest that we need for everything else, we'll drone that out eventually. But for now, awesome sinks. Tidied up our petroleum coke input into the build. So this is all looking much, much neater. So let's finish off today by just fully processing all of our aluminium bits, which means 24 assemblers for aluminium sheets. And I rounded it to 6 for the casings, just to make things some nice numbers. And things are getting a little weird. I've put this blueprint together. Let me explain this monstrosity. So this is 2 assemblers. The inputs are placed just right so that we can split here and feed this one here and then this one through a belt. It makes this super, super compact. We can take the outputs from each side here and here, and then we've just decorated this with some lights. I really, really like this. Let me know your thoughts. The copper ingots are feeding up from down inside the pit here from these refineries on the top. And when these assemblers are in, it's really, really fitting in with the vibe here. We have our section of 24 on this side making our sheets. We have our section of 6 on this side making our cases, running very temporarily to some awesome sinks on the roof. And when we get real close in here, it kind of looks like these assemblers are picking parts out of these lifts, which is just much cooler than I was expecting. I've tried to balance this so all 5 of these belts just constantly run. And up on the roof for now, we can check that we're making our 1800 sheets and about 1100 cases. So this is all working absolutely flawlessly. And again, this place just looks so good in the evening. We don't need the output here for a little while. but I just needed something to do to break the monotony a little bit. So now I'm back off to carry on with the massive refineries we've got outside the build. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you are enjoying your time here, please consider a free sub. And if you comment I subbed, I'll get your name up onto the community wall. Until then, guys, I will see you in the next one.